I still remember the exact moment I knew something was off. It wasn't the music. It wasn't the flowers. It wasn't even the way the warm lights made the whole wedding hall glow like a movie scene. It was the way people looked at me. Not everyone. Not my brother Amir. He looked like the happiest man alive, standing there in his suit, trying not to tear up every time he saw his bride. But a certain group. A group clustered near the champagne table. They were watching me like I was a joke they couldn't wait to tell. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Because why would anyone come to my brother's wedding just to stare at me? I adjusted the simple navy dress I had chosen on purpose. No flashy jewelry. No dramatic heels. My hair pulled back neatly. Clean, calm, forgettable. That was the plan. Keep the focus on Amir and Layla. Let them shine. Let today be about love, not attention. But the whispers started anyway. It began with a soft laugh that didn't belong to anything funny. Then a voice, sweet on the outside, sharp underneath, said, "Oh my God, she actually came." Another voice answered, "Of course she came. She wouldn't miss free food." They laughed again. And just like that, my stomach tightened. I turned slightly, pretending I didn't hear, pretending I was busy checking my phone. But my hands were cold. The group was made up of people I recognized. Distant relatives, old classmates, a couple of my brother's friends. And then there were two I didn't expect to see there at all. Maya and Ramin. They worked at my company. Or they thought they did. Maya was one of those people who could compliment you and insult you in the same sentence. She had a bright lipstick smile and eyes that always measured your worth. Ramin was her shadow. Quiet when it suited him. Loud when he had someone to laugh at. They were standing there with glasses in their hands like they owned the place. Like they belonged. And I didn't. Maya leaned close to Ramin and said something that made him snort. Then she looked directly at me and smiled. That kind of smile that says, "I'm going to hurt you and I'm going to enjoy it." I felt my cheeks heat up, but I kept my face calm. Because the truth was, they didn't know who I was. Not really. To them, I was just Amir's older sister. The quiet one. The one who moved away. The one they assumed had nothing going on. And tonight, at my brother's wedding, they had decided I was going to be their entertainment. I should have walked away right then. I should have avoided them, stayed close to my family, and let it go. But then I heard the next sentence. Maya said, loud enough for me to catch it. "I wonder if she's still doing that little freelance thing. You know, pretending it's a real job." Ramin chuckled. "Let her pretend. Some people need fantasies." My heart dropped, not because it was true, but because of what it meant. They weren't just talking. They were hunting. And the wedding hadn't even started. So I took a slow breath, lifted my chin, and whispered to myself, "Okay. If they want a show, they're going to get one." And I had no idea how far they were willing to go. Let me explain something before you judge me for not shutting them down immediately. I wasn't always the woman I am now. Growing up, I was the responsible one. Amir was the golden boy. Funny, charming, always surrounded by friends. He could walk into a room and light it up without even trying. I was the girl who stayed up late, writing plans, saving money, thinking 10 steps ahead. And when our father got sick, everything changed. Bills stacked up. Our mother tried to hold the family together with tired smiles and silent prayers. Amir was still young, too young to carry that kind of pressure. So I did. Got scholarships. I worked part-time jobs. I skipped parties. I said no to things other girls said yes to. And I promised myself one thing. One day, I'll build something that no one can take from us. Years later I did. Not overnight. Not with luck. And definitely not with anyone cheering for me. I started small. Consulting work, late nights, cheap coffee, and a laptop that overheated every hour. Then I built a team. Then I built a network. Then I built a company. A real company. A company with offices, contracts, employees, and clients that trusted us. But here's what most people don't understand. When you come from a family that struggled, you learn to protect good things by keeping them quiet. Because the moment people smell success, They come with open hands and hidden knives. So I didn't post about it. I didn't brag. I didn't show off. Even my relatives barely knew what I did. They knew I worked in business. That's it. And I liked it that way. I sent money home when mom needed it. I helped Amir pay for his studies. I made sure he never felt the fear I felt when dad was gone and the house felt too big and too empty. Amir, to his credit, never asked too many questions. He was proud of me in his own way. He'd call and say, "Sis, you always land on your feet." And I'd laugh and say, "I try." The only reason I even attended the wedding was because Amir begged me. "Please," he said, "I want you there. I want my sister beside me. Not a phone call. Not a gift. You." So I came. Not as a boss. Not as an owner. Just as a sister. But people like Maya and Ramin, they don't respect quiet. They respect power they can see. And because they couldn't see mine, they assumed it didn't exist. They assumed I was small. And the most dangerous thing you can do to someone who stayed silent for years is mistake their silence for weakness. Because silence isn't always fear. Sometimes it's patience. Sometimes it's control. And sometimes it's the calm before the door swings open and the truth walks in. That night at my brother's wedding, I was still calm, still quiet, still trying to keep it peaceful, until Maya decided peace was boring. And she wanted bloodless war. The ceremony was beautiful. I'll give them that. When Amir saw Layla walking toward him, his face changed, like his whole life finally made sense in that one moment. People cried. Even I felt my eyes sting. For a few minutes, I forgot about Maya and Ramin. I forgot about the whispers. I forgot about that tight feeling in my chest. Focused on my brother. Love. Family. But the second the ceremony ended and everyone moved toward the reception, the atmosphere shifted. The hall filled with music and clinking glasses. People hugged, laughed, took photos. Servers floated through the crowd like the night was made of silk. And that's when Maya made her first move. She approached me with a smile so wide it looked practiced. "Oh my gosh," she said loudly, pulling me into a half-hug that felt like a trap. "You look cute." Cute. Not beautiful. Not elegant. Cute, like I was a child playing dress-up. "Thank you," I said, keeping my voice steady. Ramin stepped closer, grinning like he couldn't wait for the punchline. "So," he said, "how's life? Still doing, what was it? Your little projects?" Maya laughed. "Don't be rude. She's probably very busy." Then she leaned in and lowered her voice just enough to make it sound like a secret. "I heard you tried to start something of your own. That's brave." Brave. That word again. The word people use when they want to say, "You're out of your depth." I nodded politely. "I stay busy." Maya's eyes flicked over me, scanning for signs of luxury, status, anything that would confirm her suspicion. But I gave her nothing. And that annoyed her. Because Maya didn't want a conversation. She wanted a reaction. She wanted me to stutter, to blush, to defend myself. So she raised her voice again. "You know," she said, turning slightly so a few others could hear, "it's so inspiring when people keep trying even when it doesn't really work out." Couple people chuckled. I felt the heat climb my neck. Ramin added, "Yeah, not everyone is meant for corporate life." Then he took a sip of his drink like he'd just said something wise. The worst part wasn't even the insult. It was the confidence. They spoke like they knew me. Like they had read my story and decided I was the failure character. I looked around and caught a few faces watching. Some looked uncomfortable. Some looked entertained. Some looked like they were grateful it wasn't them being targeted. That's the thing about public humiliation. Doesn't just hurt because someone insults you. It hurts because everyone else becomes part of it. Their eyes become the stage lights. And you're standing there trying not to shake. I could have ended it with one sentence. Could have said, "You work for me." I could have watched their faces crumble. But I didn't. Because this wasn't just about me. This was my brother's wedding. And Amir deserved a night free of drama. So I did what I always do when someone tries to push me into a corner. I stepped to the side. smiled. And I let them believe they had one. Maya's grin grew sharper, like she tasted victory. "Oh, one more thing," she said, pointing at my dress. "It's simple. I love that. Very realistic. Realistic. Like I couldn't afford better." Ramin laughed and looked at Maya like she was brilliant. Then they walked away, leaving me standing there with a smile frozen on my face and my heart pounding like a drum. I stared after them and whispered, "Okay. Not a surrender. Promise." 'Cause they had no idea what they just triggered. And if they thought that was the worst they could do, they were about to learn how wrong they were. I tried to reset. I went to the restroom, splashed water on my face, and told myself to focus. "Just get through the night," I whispered to my reflection. "Do it for Amir." When I returned to the hall, Amir spotted me and waved. "Sis," he called, glowing with happiness. "Did you eat? You have to eat." I laughed softly. "I will." He pulled me into a hug. "I'm so glad you're here." And for a moment I felt safe again. I thought maybe Maya will get bored. Maybe that's it. But Maya wasn't bored. She was just getting started. Later in the evening there was a slideshow. Childhood photos of Amir and Layla. Sweet little memories set to romantic music. Everyone gathered around the big screen, smiling and pointing. Then I saw it. A photo of Amir and me when we were teenagers. We were standing in our small kitchen. Amir had flour on his face. I was holding a burnt cake, laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. It was a private moment, family moment, and I loved that photo. But then the next image appeared, and my breath stopped. It was me. In a messy room, from years ago. Exhausted, sitting at a desk with papers everywhere. I recognized it instantly. It was taken during the hardest year of my life, when Dad had just passed, when I was working and studying and barely sleeping. I wasn't dressed nicely. My hair was a mess. My eyes looked tired. And across the bottom of the photo, someone had added text. Big, bold, cruel text. "When you think you're ACO but you're just tired." The room went quiet for half a second. Then laughter. Not everyone, but enough. Enough to make my chest crack open. I turned my head slowly, scanning the crowd. Maya was near the back, hand over her mouth, pretending she couldn't stop laughing. Ramin was filming the screen on his phone, shaking with amusement. My ears rang. That photo had been on my old social media years ago. Back when I posted real life, not polished life. I deleted it a long time ago. But someone saved it. Someone held on to it. Someone waited for the perfect moment to throw it at me in public. At my brother's wedding. My vision blurred, not from tears yet, just shock. This wasn't a casual insult. This was planned. It was personal. It was designed to make me feel small in a room full of people, while my brother's happiest day played like background noise. I felt something inside me shift. Like a door closing quietly. I looked toward the DJ booth. Then toward the laptop controlling the slideshow. And that's when I saw her. A cousin I barely spoke to, Isel, standing near the tech table, looking nervous. Maya leaned in and whispered something to her, smiling. Isel glanced at me, then looked away quickly. So it wasn't just Maya and Ramin. It was a team. A little group of people who decided I deserved to be laughed at. I stood there, hands clenched at my sides, smiling faintly like I was fine. Because sometimes, the most dangerous person in the room is the one who looks calm while they're breaking. I walked away before anyone could see what was happening behind my eyes. And as I moved through the crowd, I heard Maya's voice behind me. "Don't be sensitive," she called out, sweet as candy. "It's just a joke." Just a joke. That's what people say when they're caught being cruel. I stepped outside into the cold night air. My lungs filled with sharp oxygen. And I finally let my face change. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stared into the dark and thought one clear sentence. They didn't just mock me. They exposed themselves. Because here's what they didn't realize. When you own a company, you learn something early. People don't just betray with words. They betray with behavior. And behavior always leaves evidence. That slideshow, that photo, that moment, told me exactly who they were. And now I had a choice. Stay quiet, and let them keep winning. Or plan something so clean, so legal, so undeniable, that they would walk out of my brother's wedding feeling proud. And wake up the next day realizing their whole world had shifted. I wiped my hands, steadied my breathing, and went back inside, smiling again. Because my revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be professional. And it would be permanent. I didn't rush. That's the key. Most people ruin revenge because they act while emotions are screaming. I let my emotions sit beside me like fire in a cage. I walked back into the hall like nothing happened. I even clapped when Amir and Layla entered for their first dance. I laughed when people told jokes, posed for photos. And every time Maya looked at me, trying to see if she had broken me, I gave her nothing. But behind my calm face, my mind was working. Step 1: confirm. I needed to be absolutely sure Maya and Ramin were who I thought they were. Employees under my company's umbrella. Sometimes people lie at weddings. People brag. People exaggerate. But I knew their names. And I knew exactly where they worked. 'Cause I built the structure. I knew which department had the kind of energy that could hide people like them. So while everyone was distracted by cake and music, I walked toward a quiet corner and pulled out my phone. I didn't call anyone dramatically. I sent 2 messages. The first was to my executive assistant, Nigger. Simple. Direct. Need immediate confirmation. Maya Karimova and Ramin Hazanov. Employment status, department manager. Also check if anyone requested time off for tonight's wedding event. Please respond discreetly. The second message was to our HR director, Samir. Possible misconduct by employees at private event. I'll explain later. For now, please pull their HR files and any recent complaints, if any. Keep this confidential. Then I put my phone away. No one noticed. And that was the point. Because the best revenge isn't shouting in a room. It's moving pieces on a board while everyone thinks you're still playing checkers. But I wasn't done. Step 2. Identify the accomplices. The cousin near the tech table, Isel, clearly helped. Even if she didn't create it, she allowed it. I didn't want to ruin the wedding, but I wanted names. So I approached her gently. Isel, I said with a friendly smile. She flinched like she expected me to slap her with words. Hi, she stammered. I tilted my head slightly. The slideshow is sweet. You helped put it together. Her eyes darted around. Yes, kind of. That photo of me, I said softly, still smiling. The one with the text. Who added that? Isel swallowed hard. It was me. She said it would be funny. And you agreed. Isel's face tightened. I didn't want drama. I nodded slowly. Interesting. Because you just created it. She looked down. I leaned closer, voice gentle but cold. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. Now, go enjoy the wedding. She nodded quickly and nearly ran away. I watched her disappear into the crowd. Step 3: wait for the perfect moment. If I revealed the truth too early, Maya would cry victim. She'd say I was overreacting. She'd make it about humor and sensitivity. I needed the room on my side before I spoke. So I waited until the speeches. Because speeches are the one time everyone is quiet. The one time the spotlight naturally turns toward words. Amir's best friend spoke first. Then Layla's father. Then Amir. My brother's voice shook with emotion when he thanked everyone for coming. Then he said, and I want to thank my sister. She's been my second parent in this life. People clap. My throat tightened. Amir looked at me with love. Real love. And suddenly, the revenge didn't feel like it was for me anymore. It felt like it was for the younger version of me. The exhausted girl in that photo. Who didn't deserve to be mocked for surviving. My phone buzzed quietly in my hand. 2 messages. One from Nigger. Confirmed. Maya Karimova and Ramin Hazanov. Both employees. Both under our corporate group. Maya is mid-level, Ramin is junior. Both report to Department X. The second from Samir. No formal complaints filed, but notes from managers about unprofessional behavior and team conflict. Nothing serious yet. I stared at those messages, then looked up at Maya across the room. She was laughing again, enjoying the night like she had done nothing wrong. And that's when I knew. The climax wasn't going to be messy. It wasn't going to be cruel. It was going to be clean. A revelation so calm, so undeniable, that it would hit her like a wall of ice. The MC tapped the microphone. "And now," he said, smiling, "we'd love to hear from Amir's sister." A wave of applause rose. Amir looked surprised. "Wait, you're speaking." Layla smiled warmly at me, squeezing my hand. "Please do. I'd love to hear you." Maya's eyebrows lifted like she was excited for new entertainment. I stood up slowly, heart steady, face calm, and I walked toward the microphone with the kind of silence that makes people lean forward. Because something about me had changed, and the room could feel it. I stood behind the microphone and looked at the crowd. Hundreds of faces, some kind, some curious, some still holding on to laughter they didn't understand. The lights were warm, but suddenly I felt like I was standing under something brighter. Truth has a way of doing that. I glanced at Amir and Layla first. My brother's eyes were soft, proud, trusting. Layla looked calm and loving, unaware of the storm that had been building around me all night. So I started there. "With everything going on tonight," I said, voice steady, "it's easy to forget what this day really is." The room quieted. "This is a day about love," I continued, "but also about family. And sacrifice. And the people who show up for you when life isn't beautiful." Amir swallowed hard. He knew what I meant. "When we were younger," I said, "Amir had a gift. He could smile through anything. Even when things were hard." Few people nodded. "And I?" I paused, letting the silence breathe. "I was the one who worried." Soft laugh, warm, sympathetic. I smiled slightly. "I'm saying this because tonight, I saw something that reminded me of how people can be." My eyes drifted just for a second toward Maya's table. Maya's smile flickered, but she kept her chin up. "I saw how easy it is for some people to laugh at someone they don't understand," I said calmly. A few heads turned. "I saw how comfortable some people are with humiliating someone in public, especially when they believe that person has no power." The room stiffened. The air changed. Maya's eyes narrowed. Ramin shifted in his seat. Continued, still gentle. "And I want to say something to anyone who thinks that kind of behavior is harmless." I leaned slightly toward the microphone. "It's not." Silence. You could hear the soft hum of the speakers. I took a slow breath. "Amir and Layla deserve a night filled with love," I said. "So I won't turn this into a fight." Maya's shoulders relaxed slightly, as if she thought I was backing down. Then I smiled. "But I will turn it into a lesson." My eyes locked forward. "For years I kept my work life private," I said. "Because I didn't want attention. And I didn't want people treating my family differently because of what I built." Murmurs. "What I built," I repeated, "is a company. Real one. With real employees." More murmurs, louder now. "And tonight," I said softly, "I met 2 of my employees here." Maya's face tightened. Ramin's mouth opened slightly, then closed. Pause. "Let them feel it." I looked directly at Maya. "Maya Karimova," I said clearly, "and Ramin Hazanov." The room gasped. Some people because they recognized the names, others because they felt the tension snap. Maya's lipstick smile vanished. Ramin's phone lowered slowly like his hands forgot how to move. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult them back. I didn't need to. "I want to thank you," I said, still calm, "for showing me exactly who you are outside the office." Maya stood halfway, then sat back down like her legs stopped working. Ramin's face went pale. I turned back to the crowd. "Let me be very clear," I said. "Owning a company doesn't make someone better than anyone else." I glanced at Amir. And working a job doesn't make someone small. My voice softened. But cruelty, that makes a person small. The room stayed silent, like everyone was holding their breath. Continued. Tonight, someone thought it would be funny to put an edited photo of me in a wedding slideshow. Few people looked horrified now. They remembered. They thought they could do it because they assumed I wouldn't do anything. I looked at Maya again. They were wrong. Maya's eyes were glossy, but not with sadness. With panic. With respect to Amir and Layla, I said, I won't discuss consequences here. My voice stayed smooth, almost polite. But I will say this. I leaned in a final time. In my company we protect people. We don't humiliate them. We don't bully them. We don't build our confidence by tearing someone down. I straightened. And anyone who can't live by that won't be part of what I built. That was it. No screaming. No threats. Just a quiet door closing. I smiled at the couple. Amir, Layla. Love you. I'm proud of you. And I wish you a marriage filled with kindness. The room exploded into applause. Confused applause at first, then stronger. Because people love justice. They love it even more when it's calm and undeniable. I handed the microphone back to the MC and walked away. My legs were steady. But inside, my heart was racing. Because I knew something else now. This wasn't over. Not even close. The reveal was the spark. The consequences would be the fire. And Maya. She was about to learn the difference between laughing at someone and underestimating them. The wedding didn't stop. The music returned. People tried to recover. But the energy in the room had changed forever. I could feel it in the way conversations shifted. In the way people looked at me now, not with mockery but with surprise. And a kind of respect that made me uncomfortable. Because I never wanted that kind of attention. I wanted my brother's day to stay pure. But some things, once revealed, can't be hidden again. Amir pulled me aside near the dessert table. His eyes were wide. You own the company. I gave a small smile. Yes. He blinked like he was trying to process years of missing information. Why didn't you tell me? I touched his arm gently. Because I didn't want you to feel like you owed me anything. And I didn't want people coming to you for favors. He stared at me, then his face softened. You carried so much alone, he whispered. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Not tonight. Tonight is yours. Layla stepped in, holding my hand. That was powerful. But are you okay? I nodded, though the truth was more complicated. I'm okay, I said. I'm just disappointed. Because anger is easy. Disappointment is heavier. Across the room, Maya and Ramin were no longer laughing. Maya sat stiffly, whispering fast to anyone who would listen. Ramin kept looking at his phone like he was hoping reality would refresh into something else. Few minutes later, Maya approached me. Slowly, like someone approaching a wild animal. Her voice was trembling, but she tried to keep her pride. I didn't know, she said. I looked at her calmly. That's the point. She blinked. It was just a joke. People make jokes at weddings. I tilted my head slightly. Do you usually edit photos of co-workers and display them publicly? Her face flushed. And do you usually film people without consent? I asked, glancing at Ramin. Ramin froze. Maya's eyes widened. Wait, he wasn't, he was just doing what you encouraged, I said gently. Maya's voice cracked. Please. I need this job. There it was. Not remorse. Fear. Not apology. Survival. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just said, if you needed it, you should have acted like it mattered. Her lips parted, and for the first time all night, she looked small. Ramin stepped forward trying to speak. I didn't mean. I raised a hand, stopping him without touching him. I'm not discussing consequences at a wedding, I said calmly. This night isn't about you. Maya's eyes filled with tears now. Real ones, maybe. Or maybe just the kind that come when you feel trapped. So what happens? She whispered. I held her gaze. What happens, I said softly, is the same thing that happens to anyone who shows cruelty at work. Pause. There's a process. That word, process, hit harder than any insult. Because process means paperwork, evidence, policies, a file with your name on it. A quiet meeting where your excuses don't matter. Maya's shoulders sagged. Please. I looked past her to the dance floor, where Amir and Layla were smiling again, trying to keep joy alive. I lowered my voice. You have one job right now, I told Maya. Go back to your seat. Stop making this wedding about you. She nodded quickly, wiping her face, and hurried away. Ramin followed, looking like he might throw up. I watched them go and felt nothing like victory, just a heavy calm. Because revenge, real revenge, doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like closing a book. Finally, later, when the wedding was nearing its end, I stepped outside again for air. My phone buzzed. A message from HR Director Samir. Understood. We'll open a formal investigation Monday morning. If you have any evidence, send it. I stared at the screen. Monday morning. Formal investigation. That was the real ending. Not the speech. Not the applause. The consequences that would follow them into the week like a shadow. I typed back. I will send details. Also include anyone involved with the slideshow edit. Name. Isel last name. Then I put my phone away and looked up at the night sky. And for the first time all evening, felt relief. Not because they were scared, but because I finally stopped protecting people who never protected me. The next morning I woke up with that strange feeling you get after something intense happens. Like you're not sure if it was real. My phone had messages, lots of them. Relatives, friends, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Most said things like, I had no idea. I'm so proud of you. Sorry for how they treated you. Few were different. A couple of relatives hinted that I should have kept it private, or shouldn't have embarrassed anyone. I read those twice and felt something harden in me again. Because notice how people always worry about embarrassment when the wrong person is embarrassed. Nobody worried about my embarrassment when I was the joke on the screen. Nobody said, this isn't the time, when they were laughing at me. But the moment the truth flipped the power, suddenly everyone remembered manners. That's how you know who understands justice. And who just understands comfort. On Monday morning I did exactly what I said I would do. I didn't rant. I didn't post. I didn't publicly destroy anyone. I handled it like an owner. I sent HR the details. Time, location, names, what was said, what was shown, and the fact that Ramin recorded without consent. I included what Isel admitted. Char did the rest. There were interviews, reports, screenshots, statements, and because my company has rules, real rules, there were consequences. Maya tried to claim it was just humor. But policies don't care about excuses. Ramin tried to say he was just following along. But adults don't get to borrow someone else's cruelty and call it innocence. Isel, since she wasn't an employee, faced a different consequence. One inside the family. Because Amir found out. Not from me. From someone else who couldn't stop talking. And that was a hard conversation I didn't even have to start. Amir called me that evening. His voice was low. I talked to Isel. I exhaled slowly. Okay. She cried, he said. Said Maya pressured her. I stayed quiet. And I told her, Amir continued. Pressure isn't an excuse for hurting people. My eyes stung. I didn't want to cry, but that sentence felt like healing. Because for years I was the one who protected Amir. Now he was protecting me. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't see it happening. I should have shut it down. You didn't do anything wrong, I whispered. You were getting married. He paused, then said, Sis, I'm proud of you. Not because you own something, but because you didn't become cruel like them. That hit me harder than the insults ever did. Because that was the real test. When people hurt you, it's easy to hurt back. But I didn't want to become Maya. I didn't want to become someone who laughs at others to feel tall. I wanted justice. not ugliness. And here's what I learned. What I want you to take from this story. People will mock what they don't understand. They will laugh at your quiet seasons because they don't see what you're building in silence. They will underestimate you when you don't advertise your strength. But your worth isn't decided by their opinion. And revenge doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes the strongest revenge is simply this. You stay calm. You stay smart. You let the truth speak. And you let consequences do what emotions never can. Because in the end, the people who tried to humiliate me at my brother's wedding didn't lose because I yelled. They lost because they revealed themselves. And they learned a lesson they will never forget. You never really know who you're laughing at. So be careful where you throw your disrespect. Because one day, the person you mocked might be the person holding the door to your future. And they might close it, quietly, legally, and without regret.